So, GTA 5. You probably don't even need me to tell you what this game is. It's one of those rare games that kind of became a part of life. Everyone remembers where they were when it dropped. Midnight releases, lineups outside GameStop, people rushing home just to play it on their old PS3s or Xbox 360s. It wasn't just another Rockstar game, it was the Rockstar game. The one that felt like the next big step after GTA 4 and Red Dead. But what's funny is, even with all the hype, I don't think anyone realized just how huge it was actually going to be. Not just in terms of sales, but how long it would last. This video isn't just about nostalgia or remember when GTA 5 released. I want to talk about why the story still works, the characters, the writing, the missions, all of it. Why this game managed to stay relevant for over a decade while still feeling like it came out yesterday. So yeah, let's go back to 2013 when Los Santos first came to life. Before GTA 5 came out, Rockstar was kind of in this weird spot where every game they made had to be bigger than the last. GTA 4 had already changed everything. It was this darker, heavier story about immigrants, betrayal, and the American dream falling apart.
After you walk into a village and you see 50 children all sitting neatly in a row against the church wall, each with their throats cut and their hands chopped off, you realize that the creature that could do this doesn't have a soul.
Then Red Dead Redemption came out and everyone was like, okay, so Rockstar can do emotional storytelling too, and by the time Max Payne 3 dropped, it was obvious they'd gone full cinematic. Cutscenes, camera work, writing, all of it felt like an actual movie. So when they finally announced GTA 5, people went insane. There were rumors that it'd take place across multiple cities, or that it'd bring back characters from old games. And when that first trailer hit in 2011, the one where you hear Michael's voice talking about wanting to retire over those shots of Los Santos, it instantly felt different. The tone wasn't gritty or depressing like GTA 4, but it also wasn't goofy like San Andreas. It was somewhere in between. That trailer alone built 2 years of hype. Fans picked it apart frame by frame. Who's the guy in the convertible? Is that Grove Street? Rockstar didn't even need to say anything. They just let the community go wild, guessing how everything would tie together. And you have to remember, this was before constant leaks or insider info like we get now. The mystery was part of the fun. People genuinely didn't know how you'd play as 3 characters or if it was gonna be one huge connected map. But what made the build-up so special is that Rockstar had earned that level of trust. Every time they released something, it meant something. It wasn't just marketing fluff, it was them saying, this is the next big thing, get ready. And when the final trailers dropped in 2013, that hype hit a level no game had ever really reached before. You had gaming magazines doing 10-page interviews, YouTubers speculating daily, and everyone just waiting for September 17th to hit. That date didn't even feel real after a while. Like, it became this cultural moment where people were counting down. Everyone knew that once GTA 5 dropped, it was gonna take over everything, and they were right. The second it released, the world kind of stopped. September 17th, 2013. The date is kind of still stuck in my head, which is funny. Most games just release, we play them, and that's that. But GTA 5, it felt like an event. You had people lining up outside of stores at midnight, camera flashes going off, and news outlets covering that release like it was a movie premiere. Some people even skipped school or work just to stay home and play. It wasn't just a game dropping, it was the moment everyone had been waiting for. And when you finally booted up, that opening scene just hit different. You go from the snowy heist in North Yankton to racing in the middle of Los Santos. It instantly set the tone that this is going to be way bigger than anything Rockstar has ever done. Even the way the game introduced switching characters felt fresh. You didn't need a cutscene or loading screen. You just panned out and suddenly you're in someone else's life. It was a small feature that somehow made the entire world feel alive. But what I think made the release of GTA 5 feel so special was how complete it felt right away. It wasn't a game that needed patches or updates or even an online mode to feel full. The story mode alone was massive. The world felt limitless. You could walk into a random street corner, hear 2 NPCs arguing about stock prices or celebrities, and it just felt real.
Hey, I'm sick of these niggas thinking families ain't real, nigga.
Man, shut up, man. I'm tired of your mom.
And you gotta remember, this was on hardware that was nearing a decade old. Rockstar squeezed every drop of power out of the PS3 and the Xbox 360. The draw distance, the lighting, even the reflections on cars. It shouldn't have looked as good as it did. You'd look out from Vinewood Hills and see the entire city breathing. Helicopters, traffic, smog, sirens in the distance. And it just made you want to exist in there. But there was something else too. Something about how the story immediately felt grounded. 4 had been about struggling to survive, 5 was about chasing something bigger. Fame, wealth, peace. Whatever each character thought happiness was. It wasn't just about crime anymore, it was about what happens after you get everything you wanted and realize you're still not happy. That's what made those early hours so powerful. You weren't just exploring Los Santos, you were meeting 3 people at completely different stages of life, all connected by the same feeling of emptiness. and by the time you switch between Michael, Franklin, and Trevor for the first time, you could already tell this wasn't just a story about crime, it was a story about control, greed, and identity, and how all three can fall apart at any second. Once the story opens up and you actually get control, that's when it really hits you how big this world is. While Santos doesn't feel like a map, it feels like a place you've been before. Like, even if you've never played San Andreas, you still get this weird sense of familiarity. The palm trees, the smog over downtown, the beach stretching what feels like forever. It all feels alive in this super cinematic way that no other open world game had nailed. And the crazy part is how dense everything feels. Rockstar could have easily made this huge, empty sandbox, but instead, every block, every alley, every random house feels like it belongs there. You'll drive through Vespucci and see joggers, buskers, people arguing about politics. All these tiny moments that don't matter to the story, but somehow make the world feel real. Then you step outside the city, like towards Blaine County, and it's a completely different vibe. You've got Trevor's trailer park surrounded by desert, power lines cutting through the sky, and mountains in the distance. The whole game shifts tone when you're out there. It goes from bright and fake and fast to slow and dusty and kinda sad. And that's something GTA 5 did better than almost any open world game at the time. It captured contrast. While Santos is glamorous and fake, Blaine County is raw and depressing, and somewhere in between, you've got Franklin stuck in that middle ground trying to figure out which world he belongs to. It's wild to think how far the series came from GTA 3 to this. You go from a city made of simple squares and copy and paste buildings to this massive ecosystem where even the wildlife reacts differently depending on where you are. You can drive from the city to the desert, up to the mountains, and back, all without a single loading screen, which was unheard of at the time. And what made it even more impressive was how seamlessly it tied into the story. When you're Michael, the world feels calm and suburban. When you're Franklin, it's grind and ambition. When you're Trevor, it's just pure chaos. But they're all playing in the exact same sandbox. The city feels like this living organism that changes depending on who you are. It's one of those games where you can just stop driving, look around, and realize how much detail is everywhere. The ads on billboards, the fake radio hosts, the way the sunset hits the skyline. It's all there to make you feel like this is real. Once the story starts unfolding, you realize something. Every character in GTA 5 is chasing the same thing, they just don't know it yet. Michael's trying to relive his glory days without admitting he's miserable. Franklin's chasing money and status because he thinks that's what freedom looks like, and Trevor, he's just trying to feel something real again. Michael's probably the easiest to relate to at first. He's got the house, the pool, the family, and yet he's completely disconnected from all of it. He's stuck in this loop where he wants peace but keeps sabotaging himself the second he gets it. You can tell he's still addicted to the chaos, the adrenaline, the danger, that feeling of control, and it's kind of sad because he's the only one who knows what that lifestyle leads to, but he can't stop himself from diving back in anyway. Then there's Franklin. Out of everyone, he feels the most grounded. He's young, he's smart, and he knows what he wants, but he's surrounded by people who don't want to see him grow. Everyone around him's stuck, so he looks up to Michael because Michael represents success, but it's the same trap. Franklin's just chasing a cleaner version of the same life. He wants to escape the hood, but the moment he does, he realizes it's just another cage, just nicer looking. And then Trevor, he's the wild card. The way Rockstar wrote him is genius because on the surface, he is pure chaos, but the more time you spend with him, the more it feels like he's the only one who's actually being honest. He doesn't pretend to care about being normal or happy or rich. He just is. And that's what makes him scary. He's free in a way the others just aren't. But that freedom comes with emptiness. Trevor doesn't have anything left to lose, so he fills that space with destruction. It's like he's constantly trying to prove he's alive by watching other people break. What ties them all together is how their lives intersect without them even realizing it. Franklin wants to be Michael. Michael's trying not to become Trevor, and Trevor can't let go of Michael. They're all mirrors of each other, each one representing a version of what the other could have been. And that's what made switching between them so powerful. You weren't just jumping between missions, you were jumping between perspectives. Every switch reminded you this wasn't one man's story, it was three different interpretations of what the American dream actually means. And somewhere between all that chaos, the game forces you to think about which one of them is right, or if any of them really are. Now, the heists are where everything about GTA 5 comes together. Story, gameplay, character, all in one place. They're not just missions, they're moments where you see exactly who each character is when the pressure hits. Every one of them handles it differently. Michael treats it like an art form, Franklin handles it like business, and Trevor turns it into pure chaos. The first big one, the jewelry store job, sets the tone. You've got the setup, the crew selection, the planning, all of it. It feels cinematic, but also weirdly personal. Michael's finally doing what he's good at again. Franklin's getting his first real taste of that high stakes life. When it all actually goes down, it's messy in the best way. Glass breaking, cops everywhere, and switching between the two of them as everything falls apart. That was the first time A Grand Theft Auto mission felt like a movie, not just in cutscenes, but in how you played it, and from there it just keeps escalating. Each heist starts to show how differently they really are underneath the teamwork, and Michael said this is all about getting control back. He wants to prove to himself that he can still pull off something perfect, but Trevor doesn't care about control. He wants to tear the system apart just to feel alive, and Franklin, he's caught between both worlds, trying to find balance while everyone else is losing it. It's also where the tension really starts to build. You see Michael slipping deeper into old habits, Trevor getting more unpredictable, and Franklin realizing that this dream life he wanted might not actually exist. They all think money's gonna fix everything, but every heist just pushes them further apart. One of the coolest parts of GTA 5 is how the heists reflect who's really in charge, or who thinks they are. When Michael leads, it feels professional, but heavy. When Trevor takes over, it's chaos, like the game itself starts losing structure, and when Franklin's involved, there's always that quiet tension, like he's realizing he's in too deep but can't pull back now. What's wild is even though the heists are supposed to be these big high points of success, they almost always end in more problems. Someone gets betrayed, someone gets killed, or someone just starts losing it. It's like every big win has a price tag you can't see until it's too late, and that's what keeps the story grounded. You're not just watching 3 guys get rich, you're watching 3 guys slowly destroy everything they built. The heists aren't about the money anymore, they're about the illusion that they still have control. You start to notice it after a few hours, that shift in tone. At first, everything in GTA 5 feels slick and loud and chaotic in all the right ways, but then the noise settles down and what's left underneath is this really quiet sense that something's wrong. Not in the gameplay, not even in the pacing, but just in the people. Michael's still doing his therapy sessions, trying to hold on to the picture of himself that doesn't exist anymore. He's the guy who got out of the life but didn't actually fix anything. It's like he swapped one kind of prison for another, but the walls just got nicer. You can feel it every time he walks through that house. The place is huge, there's a pool, a view on the hills, but it's empty. Every conversation with his family feels like a reminder that he's more disconnected than ever. Amanda's not really angry, she's just done. Like she's been checked out for years mentally, but still hanging around because walking away would mean admitting she wasted half her life. The kids barely speak to him. Jimmy's too deep in his lazy gamer bro phase, and Tracy's chasing fame because the only kind of validation that gets noticed in Los Santos. It's all exaggerated, but you can tell Rockstar knew what they were doing. The game makes fun of that LA lifestyle, but under all the jokes and satire, there's a sadness to it. These people have everything, but none of them are happy. And then there's Franklin. He's supposed to be the future, the new generation trying to climb up. You can tell from the start that he's smart, ambitious, and wants more out of life. But when he gets it, it doesn't look the way he imagined. Working for Michael starts out exciting. It feels like he finally made it, but over time, it feels more like he's just cleaning up someone else's mess. That whole mentor dynamic that's supposed to be this positive thing slowly becomes kind of toxic. Michael sees a bit of himself in Franklin, but what he's really doing is projecting, trying to live his own rise through someone else, and Franklin's stuck between gratitude and frustration, knowing deep down he's not really growing, just orbiting around someone else's broken dream. Then you've got Trevor, and this is where the cracks start to really take shape. He's chaos in human form, but there's more to him than that. He's angry because he still believes in loyalty, and the kind of brotherhood that Michael already gave up on. The longer you play, the more you realize that Trevor's insanity isn't just violence for the sake of it, it's heartbreak wrapped in rage. He doesn't know how to move on, so he burns everything around him just to feel something, and this is where the story starts to quietly shift. Up until now, GTA 5 has been this loud, cinematic roller coaster. Bank robberies, car chases, over-the-top missions, but now it starts breathing more. It lets these moments hang in silence long enough for you to feel what the characters are feeling. You get these calm in-between moments where Michael's just sitting by the pool or Franklin's looking out over Los Santos at night and it hits you. This isn't just a game about crime anymore. The money, the cars, the houses, they're just noise. The real story's underneath it. 3 guys who can't fill the holes inside of them, no homo. So they try to fill them with everything else, no homo. And what's genius is how Rockstar never tells you that. They just show it. Through the tone, through the way each mission connects to the last. There's no huge speech about guilt or purpose. It's all shown through these characters making the same mistakes, just in different ways. Michael hides behind therapy and nostalgia, Trevor hides behind violence, Franklin hides behind ambition, and all 3 of them are basically just lost. You start to feel this weird tension between the player and the characters too. You want to succeed, you want to get more money, finish the heist, buy the big stuff, but deep down you realize it's all temporary. Every success just pushes them closer to something worse. It's subtle, but it's still there. You can feel it building mission by mission. It's one of the reasons GTA 5 feels different from almost anything else Rockstar has made. In San Andreas, success was fun. It felt like the reward. In GTA 4, it was about survival and morality. But in GTA 5, success is almost like a curse. The closer you get to it, the emptier everything starts to feel. By the time all 3 of them start working together more consistently, it doesn't even feel like a team. It feels like 3 people trying to hold on to whatever sanity they've got left. You can feel the friction in the way they talk to each other. How Trevor can't stop bringing up the past, how Michael tries to pretend he's in control, and how Franklin's just trying not to drown in between them. And what's crazy is the game never slows down long enough to tell you any of this directly. It just keeps moving, keeps giving you more to do, more chaos, more adrenaline, but under all that movement, there's this constant hum of guilt, regret, and inevitability. That's what makes GTA 5's middle act so special. It's not about the big moments, it's about the slow realization that no matter what these characters do, they're really not escaping anything, they're just circling it, and you, as the player, start to realize you're doing the same thing. At this point, you start to realize that Michael's story isn't just about escaping the criminal life, it's about realizing there's nothing left to escape to. His whole life is built around pretending. Pretending he's reformed, pretending his family's fine, pretending his therapist actually helps him. Every scene in that house feels like he's walking on glass, just waiting for it to break again. Amanda's in her own world. Yoga, self-help books, affairs, whatever distraction keeps her from looking too hard at what her life's turned into. Jimmy's checked out, living through a screen, high on cheap dopamine and fake validation. Tracy's chasing clout on TV, trying to be famous for something, anything, and Michael's trying to keep up this image of being a family man while everyone around him can't even stand to look at him. But the thing is, the game doesn't exaggerate it. It feels real. Those awkward arguments, the shouting matches where everyone's just talking over each other, it's not cinematic, it's exhausting. And that's what makes it work, because GTA 5 isn't just making fun of this kind of suburban collapse, it's showing how often it happens. Not through one big fight, but through years of resentment. Years of pretending everything's fine. One of the most subtle things Rockstar nailed is how Michael's house feels different depending on where you are in the story. At the start, it's the simple success. It's clean, full of sunlight. You can hear the pool filter humming, but the longer you play, the quieter it gets. It's like the walls start closing in, and every time you walk through that door, you can feel how empty it is. You start to understand that Michael's problem isn't just guilt, it's stagnation. He's a guy who peaked years ago and doesn't know what to do with himself anymore. He can't go back to crime because it almost killed him, but he can't live a normal life either because he doesn't feel alive without it. So he tries to have both and ends up losing both. One of my favorite small details is the therapy sessions.
I should have had you locked up years ago, you stupid shit.
Do it. I'll put you in the fucking ground with the rest of them.
They start off as this funny, recurring gag, the overpriced shrink, the ridiculous advice, but over time, they become these weird glimpses into Michael's denial. You can tell he doesn't even believe the things he's saying. He's just performing for someone the same way he performs for his family, or the cops, or even the player. He's telling the story he wants to believe, not the one he's actually living. And then, when Amanda finally leaves, when she takes the kids and moves out, you can feel it hit him in a way that's different from any gunfight or chase scene. For the first time, the game slows down. There's no mission objective, no chaos, no one to shoot at, just Michael sitting alone, surrounded by everything he thought he wanted, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. That's something GTA 5 does better than almost any other open world game. It knows when to let the silence speak. You can go out and do whatever you want, rob stores, drive around, blow stuff up, but when you come back home, the house is still empty. And it's in that quiet that you start to feel the weight of who Michael really is. But what makes it hit even harder is how it all ties into the other characters. Franklin's watching all this from the outside. He wants that life, the mansion, the money, the peace, but he's seeing firsthand that none of it actually gives you peace. And Trevor, he sees Michael's collapse as betrayal. To him, success was supposed to mean loyalty, brotherhood, sticking together, but Michael traded all that for a family that doesn't even love him back. So to Trevor, that makes him a coward, not because he left alive, but because he lied about being happy. The way those three perspectives overlap is what gives GTA 5 its weight. It's not just three storylines, it's three different philosophies about what happiness even means. Michael thinks it's stability, Franklin thinks it's success, Trevor thinks it's freedom, and all three of them are wrong. The further you go, the more it starts feeling like Michael's entire world is built on denial. He's denying that he misses the thrill, he's denying that his family's broken, he's denying that he's the reason everything around him keeps falling apart. He's a man constantly trying to rewrite his own story, and the game keeps reminding you that he can't. There's a really quiet tragedy to it. The idea that you can run from everything except yourself, and that's exactly what Michael's been doing. He ran from North Yankton, he ran from his old life, and now he's running from his own guilt, trying to patch it with therapy, with alcohol, with nostalgia. And you start to realize that maybe that's the point of his whole arc. It's not about redemption, it's about the kind of person who wants redemption, but can't live with what it actually costs. By this point in the game, the story isn't really about big heists or set piece anymore. It's about watching a man fall apart in slow motion, and knowing there's nothing you can do to stop it. You're not just playing as him, you're trapped with him. And that's what makes GTA 5 feels so human, because behind all the jokes, the explosions, and the satire, it's still just a story about people who wanted too much, got it all, and still feel nothing. And then there's Franklin. Franklin's story starts off feeling like a classic rags to riches setup, the kind of making it out story GTA's always been great at telling. He's young, he's smart, he's ambitious, he doesn't want to waste his life doing petty repo jobs with Simeon, or rolling with Lamar in some dead-end hustle. He wants to move up, and when he meets Michael, it feels like he finally found a way out. But that's where the irony starts to kick in, because Michael doesn't lift Franklin out of that life, he just shows him a cleaner version of the same trap. Franklin trades one grind for another, one boss for another, one illusion of freedom for something even more manipulative. At first, it's exciting. The missions with Michael are slick, cinematic, high stakes. You can feel Franklin's confidence building. He's robbing jewelry stores, infiltrating government buildings, getting paid in ways he never imagined. But the longer it goes on, the more he starts realizing that every move up comes with new strings attached. Michael treats him like a son, but he also uses him like one, and Franklin's not blind to that. It's subtle at first, Michael calling him kid, brushing off his opinions, keeping him out of the real decisions, but it builds. You can tell Franklin starts wondering if this mentorship is really about guidance or control. And when you start switching back and forth between them, seeing Michael's perspective, seeing Franklin's, you start noticing how different their worlds actually are. Michael lives in a mansion surrounded by things he doesn't appreciate. Franklin lives in a cramped house surrounded by people who love him but hold him back. And both of them think the other has it better. There's this really quiet, sad contrast between Franklin and Lamar that most people don't talk about. They start out as best friends, same neighborhood, same hustle, same dream of getting rich, but where Franklin wants change, Lamar just wants attention. He's loud, unpredictable, and kind of clueless, but you can tell he genuinely cares about Franklin. He doesn't understand why Franklin's trying to leave him behind, and that tension grows slowly, mission by mission. Lamar sees Franklin getting money, new clothes, new cars, and he interprets that as betrayal. Franklin sees Lamar still stuck in the same cycle, and he interprets that as laziness. They're both right in their own ways, and both completely missing the point. They think they're talking about success, but they're really talking about identity. And what's so good about Franklin's writing is that he doesn't fully realize what's happening until it's too late. There's no big moment where he changes, it's a slow disconnection from everything that made him who he was. By the time he's living in Vinewood Hills, the kid who used to clown around with Lamar doesn't really exist anymore. He's got the money, the car, the view, but he spends most of his nights alone, pacing around that house, looking out over the city, and the silence says it all. You start to notice that Franklin doesn't really laugh anymore. Early in the game he had energy, he cracked jokes, he argued, he had something to prove. Now he just stares at things. He's not broken anymore, but he's not free either. That's one of the smartest things Rockstar did with his story. They made him the player's lens, the most normal guy in the cast full of extremes, and then slowly stripped that normalcy away. He's not as unhinged as Trevor or as broken as Michael, but he's also not clean. He's a reflection of what ambition looks like when you don't know what to do with it once you get there. You can feel that tension between loyalty and logic, between the old life and the new one. He doesn't hate Lamar, he just can't relate to him anymore, and that's what makes it hurt. Franklin's story is about realizing that making it out doesn't fix anything if you don't know who you are once you get there. He gets everything he wanted, the respect, the house, the power, and it doesn't make him whole, it just makes him quieter. That's something GTA 5 captures better than any motivational story ever could. The idea that ambition without meaning just turns into another kind of prison. Franklin's surrounded by people who are technically beneath him now, but he's not happy about it. He doesn't even brag, he just looks tired. But by the midpoint of the game, Franklin's not chasing dreams anymore, he's chasing distractions. He starts working for Lester, doing government jobs, running hits for people who couldn't care less about him. It's money for money's sake. And he started to realize that deep down, he's no different than Michael or Trevor, just more polite about it. There's a great irony in how GTA 5 handles Franklin's rise. Most players saw him as the moral one, the level-headed guy keeping the others grounded. But the truth is, he just hasn't lived long enough to break yet. By the end of the game, you can see the cracks forming. He's calmer and colder. You can feel the burnout settling in. That's what makes Franklin's story so tragic. He never really turns into a villain, but he also never finds peace. He gets everything he thought he wanted, and it costs him everything he actually needed. By the time the story reaches its breaking point, Franklin's not that hungry kid anymore. He's just another ghost in Los Santos, looking down from the hills at a city that keeps taking more than it gives. Now, Trevor's story is different from everyone else's because it's the only one that never pretends to be anything it's not. He doesn't chase happiness or family or money, he just is. He's pure chaos, driven by instinct and emotion, and that's what makes him so fascinating to me. Every time you switch to Trevor, you never know what you're gonna get. One minute he's throwing someone off a cliff, the next he's in the middle of the desert wearing a dress, covered in blood like nothing happened. And it's funny at first, it's outrageous, but after a while, it starts feeling like there's something deeper underneath all that insanity. Because Trevor's not crazy for the sake of it, he's broken. He's a side of Michael that couldn't handle the guilt, the part that never got therapy, never retired, never stopped killing, and instead of trying to bury that darkness, he just lives in it. That's what makes him so unpredictable, but also weirdly the most honest character in the game. When you really break it down, Trevor's spiral isn't about violence, it's about betrayal. Everything he does comes back to that one moment in North Yankton, the heist, the gunfire, and the lie that followed. Michael faked his death, made a deal with the feds, and left Trevor behind to rot. So, when Trevor finds out he's alive, it's not about revenge, it's about heartbreak. That's something people overlook about Trevor. He's not angry because Michael betrayed the business, he's angry because Michael betrayed him. Their relationship was never just about money, it was about brotherhood. The kind of bond you only build when you've bled next to someone, when you've shared everything and trusted them with your life, and to Trevor, that's sacred. So when he finds out Michael's been living in Los Santos, playing house, pretending to be a family man, it shatters whatever was left of him. From that moment on, you start to see Trevor unravel in real time. He's still funny, still terrifying, but there's something different about him now. That rage feels personal. Every violent outburst, every insult, every erratic mission, it's him trying to process the one thing he doesn't know how to handle, loss. His introduction in Sandy Shores already showed what kind of person he is, brutal, impulsive, and unpredictable. But once he learns Michael's alive, you start to see a different side. The version of Trevor that used to care about something. He takes over businesses, builds his empires, tries to fill the hole in his life with chaos and control. But no matter how many people he kills or how much power he gets, he never actually feels satisfied. Because the truth is, Trevor doesn't want control, he wants connection. He doesn't know how to handle that without destroying everything in the process. That's why his story hits differently than others. Michael's story is about denial. Franklin's is about delusionment. Trevor's is about grief. And you can feel that in every mission. He's always looking for something that'll make him feel alive again. A new crew, a new fight, a new enemy, but all of it is just noise. What's interesting is that even though Trevor is the most violent and unpredictable, he's also the only one who never lies to himself. He knows who he is. He doesn't hide behind money or therapy or ambition. He just accepts that he's broken, and in a way, that makes him the most self-aware of the three. One of the most powerful parts of Trevor's story comes when he finds out about Brad. All that time, he thought Michael was dead and Brad was in prison, but the truth is the opposite. Michael's alive and Brad's been buried in that same grave, and that scene in North Yankton where Trevor digs it up, trembling, realizing it's all been a lie, that's where the mask fully cracks. For once, Trevor isn't screaming, he isn't laughing, he's just quiet. From that point on, everything he does has this bitterness behind it. It's not violence anymore, it's grief turned into fuel. You can tell he wants to hurt Michael, not just physically, but emotionally. He wants Michael to feel what he felt. The loss, the confusion, the betrayal, and that's what makes their dynamic so compelling. They're not just partners who fell out, they're family that never healed. But what keeps Trevor from being a full-on villain is that weird twisted sense of morality he still has. He might torture people, rob banks, and blow up anything that moves, but he still has his own code. He protects people who reminded him of loyalty. Wade, Ron, even Floyd for a while, and deep down, you can tell he still loves Michael even when he hates him. That contradiction, that ability to destroy and still care is what makes Trevor feel human. By the time you reach the middle of his story, Trevor's not spiraling, he's unraveling everything around him too. He can't stand still because standing still means thinking about what he's lost, so he keeps moving, keeps burning bridges, keeps feeding that cycle until there's nothing left. It's almost tragic how aware he is of it. You can tell he knows he's destroying himself, but he's going too far to stop. What Rockstar did with Trevor is something no other game really had the courage to do at the time. They gave you a character who is both the comic relief and the emotional core. He's disgusting, he's violent, he's unstable, but you can't look away, because deep down, you recognize him. That raw anger, that fear of being forgotten, that craving for meaning when everything else feels empty, that's what makes him real. Trevor's spiral isn't about going crazy, it's about realizing the world moved on without you, and you don't know who you are anymore. And that's something every character in GTA 5 shares. They're all just ghosts haunting different versions of the life they wanted. Around the middle point of GTA 5, the story really starts to feel like it's spinning out of control in the best way possible. The heists are getting bigger, the setups are getting even more complex, and every character's personal issues are bleeding into the job. This is where Rockstar shows how good they are at mixing chaos with meaning. You're not just doing missions anymore, you're watching these three lives collide in ways that can't be undone. The jewelry store job feels like the start of something clean. Everyone has a role, the plan works, and for a moment it feels like maybe this crew actually has potential, but it's also the last time things go smoothly. Every job after that becomes heavier, riskier, and even more personal. The more they win, the more they lose control. By the time you get to the Merryweather heist, it's not even about money anymore, it's about proving something. Trevor wants to show he's in charge, Michael wants to prove he's still got it, and Franklin's just trying to make sure nobody gets killed in the process. It's one of those turning points where you realize this crew isn't built on trust, it's built on desperation, and desperation never lasts. The way Rockstar structures those mid-game missions is genius. Each heist shows how far characters will go to keep pretending their plan makes sense. They're robbing trains, hijacking submarines, stealing from private armies, all while pretending it's still business. But you can feel the tension growing in the silence between missions. The stares, the sarcasm, the way Michael and Trevor can't even talk without it turning into an argument. The big explosions and shootouts are fun, sure, but it's still that quiet hostility that gives this part of the game its edge. Michael's stuck between two lives. He's trying to play mentor to Franklin, keep Trevor calm, and hold on to a family that's already checked out. Trevor's obsessed with the past, dragging Michael further into the chaos he tried to escape, and Franklin's caught in the middle, realizing he's not working with them anymore, he's surviving around them. What makes this part of the game so powerful is how it shifts tone. Early GTA missions always had this rhythm, steal a car, chase someone, big finale, but here it's slower, more methodical. You're planning, gathering intel, deciding who to bring, and that makes every job feel personal. Every choice feels like it's shaping the crew's future, even though deep down, you know it's falling apart. The Paleto Bay heist is the perfect example. It's easily one of the best missions Rockstar has ever made. Loud, chaotic, and absurdly cinematic, but underneath all the explosions and chaos, there's a feeling of unease. You can sense that this isn't just another job, it's a cry for help. It's Trevor dragging the crew back into the dirt because that's the only place he still feels alive. And Michael goes along with it because part of him misses it too. That's what makes it tragic. They're not doing this because they have to, they're doing it because they don't know who they are without it. And then there's Franklin, trying to keep up with two guys twice his age who can't stop reliving the past. He's the one voice of reason in a crew that doesn't want to be saved. You can see it in how he talks to Lester, more business, less emotion. He's starting to realize that being the smart one doesn't mean you get out clean, it just means you're the last one to break. By the time the FIB gets involved, the tone shifts completely. Suddenly the heists aren't about greed anymore, they're about control. They're being used as pawns in something way bigger than themselves and they know it. The tension isn't, can we pull it off anymore, it's how long before this blows up in our faces. And what's crazy is Rockstar manages to make you feel that exhaustion as a player. The setup missions start to feel like busy work, long drives, small errands, prepping for something that's always one step away from disaster. You can sense how tired the characters are getting, and that's intentional, because it mirrors the story. Three men who spent their whole lives running and now realizing there's nowhere left to go. Trevor starts losing it completely around this point. He's not just lashing out, he's unraveling. He kidnaps people, attacks government agents, starts his own meth operation just to feel powerful again. Every mission with him feels like walking through a storm. You know something's about to break, but you don't know when. Michael, on the other hand, starts trying to pull away. He's getting jobs from the FIB, sneaking off to movie sets, chasing the idea of being legitimate again. Like, if he can just rewrite his story, everything else will fall into place, but you can tell he doesn't believe it. Every job feels like another lie he's telling himself. Just one more, just this last one. And Franklin's starting to see the same lie forming in his own head. He's beginning to sound like Michael without even realizing it. That's the beauty of this middle act. It's not just action for the sake of action, it's showing how each heist is eating away at the crew's sanity. They're all pretending it's about money or freedom or even legacy, but by now it's obvious that all three of them are just addicted to the chaos. They need it, and the game knows it. By the end of this stretch, the FIB's pulling the strings. Trevor's losing control, and Michael's living in denial. And Franklin, he's starting to see what this world really costs. It's not about who's the best criminal anymore, it's about who can survive long enough to pretend they're still in control. Everything that held the crew together starts to crack. For real. The heists aren't victories anymore, they're damage control. Every success comes with a cost, and every decision feels like a reminder that these three guys were never meant to last. It's the part of the game where you stop feeling like you're watching a rise and start realizing you're watching a slow collapse. Michael's life completely unravels here. His family's gone, Amanda's done pretending, the kids barely talk to him, and he's stuck in this quiet spiral of trying to justify all of it. You can tell he's losing grip on the whole retirement fantasy. The therapy sessions stop helping, the movie project starts falling apart, and he's right back where he started, chasing something that doesn't exist. For Michael, every step forward just leads him back to the same question. If I have everything I ever wanted, why am I so miserable? And then there's Trevor. He's not just angry anymore, he's wounded. He's out here pretending to be untouchable. But you can see it all over him. The missions with him around this part of the game are wild, unpredictable, violent, and emotional, but there's always something deeper behind them. When he finds out about Brad, that was it. That was the moment he stopped being unpredictable and became dangerous, because now it's personal. Now it's betrayal layered on top of years of loneliness and resentment. Trevor's not fighting for power anymore, he's fighting to be seen. He wants Michael to admit he was wrong, that he lied, that he abandoned him. But Michael can't do that, because if he does, everything he built, his fake life, his deal with the feds, his image of moving on, falls apart. And Franklin, he's the one watching all this from the outside, realizing he's in way over his head. He's not broke anymore, but he's surrounded by people who are emotionally bankrupt. He's got money, connections, even respect now, but none of it feels earned. He's just caught between two men who can't let go of the past, and no matter what he does, he's always stuck cleaning up after them. Every mission that comes his way, every phone call from Lester or the FIB feels less like opportunity and more like obligation. He's finally made it, but it doesn't mean anything, and that's the point. The tension between Michael and Trevor hits its peak here. You can feel it in every mission they share. The jokes stop landing, the sarcasm turns mean. Even small things, like the way Trevor interprets Michael or the way Michael tries to downplay him, start to sting. They both know it's going to explode, they just don't know when. And when it does, it's not in some big cinematic betrayal, it's in these quiet personal moments. Confrontations, long pauses in conversations that look like they give each other right before a job goes wrong. It's not about business anymore, it's about loyalty, pride, and regret. Michael's trying to convince himself he did what he had to. Trevor's trying to convince himself he doesn't care, and both of them are lying. That's what makes this section of the game hit so hard. You realize that none of these guys are really villains. They're just victims of their own choices. Every lie they told to get ahead, every shortcut, every betrayal, it all starts coming back now. It's karma in real time. The mission Bury the Hatchet is where it all comes to a head. That's the moment the tension finally explodes. Trevor forces Michael back to North Yankton, back to the grave, back to where it all started, and it's not even about the truth at that point, it's about closure. And when Trevor digs up that coffin and finds Brad's body, everything stops. The air goes cold. Michael doesn't even try to talk his way out of it. Because what can you say when someone sees the proof of your betrayal buried in front of them? It's one of the most powerful scenes Rockstar has ever written. No shootout, no chase, no witty dialogue, just pain. Raw, quiet, human pain. From that moment on, Trevor and Michael are done. Whatever friendship they had is gone. Every heist, every mission after that feels different. It feels colder. Even when they're working together, you can feel that wall in between them. It's not about who's right or what's wrong anymore, it's about survival. And you start realizing the game's not building towards one big victory, it's building towards 3 different collapses. Franklin's role in all this gets heavier too. He's a bridge between two people who hate each other, and it's killing him inside. Every call from Michael or Trevor feels like he's choosing sides in a war he never signed up for, and deep down, he knows how it all ends. Not with money or success, but with blood. He's seen too much to believe otherwise. This is where the tone of the game really shifts. It stops feeling like a big cinematic blockbuster and starts feeling more personal, almost uncomfortable. You're not laughing at Trevor's chaos anymore, you're worrying about what he'll do next. You're not proud of Michael's smarts, you're questioning if he's still the good guy, and Franklin, he's starting to sound tired. Like someone who's already seen the ending but can't stop walking towards it anyways. The breaking point isn't one mission, it's the slow, suffocating stretch of the game where every character starts realizing they can't fix what they broke. The money doesn't matter anymore. The heists don't matter anymore. The world keeps moving, but they don't. And it's in that silliness, that slow collapse, that GTA 5 becomes something deeper than just another open world game. It becomes a story about denial, about what happens when you try to build happiness on top of everything you've destroyed, and by now, it's clear. These 3 guys aren't climbing towards anything anymore. They're falling, just at different speeds. At this point, it's not even about money anymore. The jobs, the cars, the shootouts, they all start blending together into something darker. The FIB isn't just another enemy, they're the reminder that these characters never actually escaped. Every time Michael thinks he's free, they pull him back. Every time Trevor thinks he's in control, they use him without him even realizing it. And every time Franklin tries to play smart, he gets caught between people who already sealed their own fates. The FIB stretch of GTA 5 is where the story shifts gears completely. The focus turns from ambition to survival, and you can feel it in every mission. These aren't cool, confident heists anymore, they're messy, high-risk favors for people who'd kill you the second you stop being useful. Every call from Dave Norton or Steve Haynes feels like a leash tightening around Michael's neck. He's not working with the FIB, he's working under them, and it eats away at him. The The whole irony is that Michael was supposed to be the one who got out. He made his deal, bought his house in Bywood, and told himself he was free, but when you really look at it, he's still doing the same thing, lying to himself and getting bossed around by people who see him as disposable. It's just a different kind of prison now, a bigger one with nicer furniture. And you can tell Rockstar wanted you to feel that. The FIB jobs are loud and chaotic, but they're also cold. You're working for people you hate, against people you don't even understand. It's not rebellion anymore, it's routine. And that mundanity, that slow grind of doing jobs for corrupt agencies and criminals, that's what breaks Michael more than anything else. He doesn't feel like a criminal anymore, he feels like an employee. Trevor, though, he doesn't take that well. The moment he realizes Michael's still tied to the FIB, still playing both sides, that's when he loses any sense of trust that was left. You can feel it in his dialogue. He starts calling out every lie, every excuse, every fake apology. It's like he's been waiting for this, waiting for the mask to slip, and now that it finally has, there's no putting it back on. Meanwhile, Franklin's starting to see how deep this goes. He's not just helping out a crew anymore, he's part of a system that feeds on people like him. The FIB uses Michael, Michael uses Franklin, and Trevor uses whoever's closest. It's a chain of control, and the only difference between them is how aware they are of it. Franklin's the youngest, but he's also the one who starts seeing the pattern first. He's the only one still thinking about the future, but it's getting harder to believe there even is one. That's what makes the FIB arc so strong. It's not just about corruption, it's about realization. Everyone starts seeing who they really are when they're stripped of the illusion of choice. Michael's not a mastermind, Trevor's not a rebel, and Franklin's not a savior. They're all just tools for people with more power, and deep down, they know it. The missions themselves feel different too. They feel heavier and they feel colder. Even the environment's reflected. The world that once felt alive now feels distant. The colors are duller, the weather's harsher, the music hits quieter. You can tell this isn't the same Los Santos you started in. It's the same map, but the energy's changed. It's not the city of opportunity anymore, it's a city that eats you alive once it knows your name. And then comes Steve Haynes. He's easily one of the best written villains Rockstar has ever made, not because he's powerful, but because he's believable. He's not some mob boss or warlord, he's just a government agent with a god complex and a camera crew. He represents everything the characters hate about the world: fake confidence, moral hypocrisy, and control disguised as opportunity. He uses Michael's guilt, Trevor's rage, and Franklin's loyalty like chess pieces. And somehow he always ends up ahead, at least for a while, and Dave Norton's different. He's not as evil, he's just weaker. He's the good cop who sold his soul for a favor, and now he's stuck pretending it was worth it. His dynamic with Michael is interesting because they're both basically mirrors. Both men who thought they could make a deal with the devil and walk away clean, and neither of them did. The tension really hits when Trevor finds out the truth about Brad and the FIB deal. That's the moment everything comes crashing down. It's not just betrayal anymore, it's exposure. All the lies, all the years of pretending it was about survival, gone. Now it's just three men stuck in a web they can't escape, tied together by decisions that can't be undone, and the game never lets you forget that. Every mission after that feels like the walls are closing in. No matter how much money you make or how many enemies you kill, the world just keeps pulling you deeper. Even the tone of the dialogue. Early in the game, there's banter, energy, momentum. Now it's sharp and tired. Like everyone's talking in circles, saying things they've already said 100 times. You can tell the game's not building up to another big score, it's building up to a confrontation. And it's not about the FIB anymore, it's about the crew. By the time you reach the later FIB missions, the Bureau raid, the government hits, the build up to the big one, you can feel the story suffocating under its own weight. Michael trying to keep it together, Trevor's actively trying to tear it all down, and Franklin's starting to understand that he might have to pick a side. That's what makes this section so tense. It's not about who wins, it's about who finally snaps. It's the calm before the storm, but it's not peaceful. It's quiet in a way where you know something's about to go wrong, but you just don't know when. And that's what makes this part of GTA 5 so effective. It's the moment you realize the story's not leading you to a happy ending, it's leading you to a choice, and deep down, you already know none of the options are good. By the time you finally reach the Union Depository job, it doesn't even feel like a heist anymore. It feels like closure. The build-up, the tension, the silence between these characters, it's all been leading here. Every dollar, every lie, every bullet, it all comes down to this final job. And what's so interesting is that it's not played like some big triumphant finality. It feels hollow. Feels cold. Like everyone knows this isn't a win, it's just the last thing they have to do before everything falls apart. The way Rockstar sets it up is brilliant. You've got the planning, the crew selection, the setups, all the familiar stats, but the energy is completely different. It's not exciting anymore, it's tense. You can feel in the way the characters talk. Even the jokes feel forced. They're trying to convince themselves that this one big score is going to fix everything when deep down, they all know it won't. The Union Depository job itself is massive, a multi-layered operation with coordination, timing, and chaos everywhere, but there's this weird sense of calm behind it. Michael is treating it like it's his legacy. Trevor is treating it like revenge. revenge, and Franklin, he's just trying to make it out alive. There's this quiet understanding that this is probably the last time they'll all work together. No matter what happens, they're not walking away the same. And even though the job itself goes off without a hitch, it doesn't feel like a victory. They finally get what they've been chasing the entire game: the money, the success, the clean getaway, but it doesn't feel good. You can tell from the second it's over that none of it matters, because by this point, money isn't the problem anymore. The problem is that there's no one left to share it with. Michael's still haunted by guilt, by his lies, by his family, by the blood on his hands. Trevor's consumed by betrayal, still angry, still violent, and still lost. And Franklin, he's realizing the whole dream might have been a trap. He wanted success and he got it, but at the cost of everything. He's got his house, cars, power, but he's alone. And it hits you that all three of them were chasing something that doesn't actually exist: peace, closure, control. None of it was real. They were just distractions from the same emptiness that's been there from the start. And then comes a choice. It's one of the simplest endings Rockstar has ever given a player, but one of the hardest to make. You can either kill Trevor, kill Michael, or take on Death Witch, and each option says something different about who Franklin has become. If you kill Trevor, it's cold, it's brutal. It's like cutting off the chaos, finally putting it into the madness, but it's not satisfying. Trevor might have been insane, but he was honest about it. He was the only one who never pretended to be something he wasn't, and when you see him go out, burning alive, screaming, refusing to beg, it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like losing a part of what made the game feel real. If you kill Michael, it's quieter but somehow worse. Michael was the one trying to hold it all together. He wasn't perfect by any means, but he was the emotional core of the story. When you choose to kill him, it's not about greed or loyalty, it's about acceptance. It's Franklin realizing that no matter what he does, someone's always got to pay the price. That scene on the tower, the moment where Michael slips and you can choose whether to save him, it's haunting. There's no right answer, only guilt, and it sticks with you long after the credits roll. And then there's Death Wish, the third option, the one that feels like the only true ending. It's Franklin saying no. No to the system, no to the betrayal, no to choosing between two people he actually cares about. It's him finally breaking the cycle, not playing by anyone's rules. You get to take down every enemy you've made across the entire game: the FIB, the rival gangs, the corrupt agents, and for once, the three of them are finally working together again. It's chaotic, cinematic, and cathartic all at once. Not because it's perfect, but because it feels like closure that wasn't bought, it was earned. That final mission, the third way, is everything GTA 5's story has been building towards. Not a flashy ending or a moral lesson, just a choice that reflects what the game's about: control, loyalty, and survival. It's not about what's right or what's wrong, it's about who you can still stand beside when the world finally turns against you. And when it's all over, when the dust settles and the city's quiet again, it hits you just how much these characters have changed. Michael finally gets a glimpse of peace, Trevor, for all his chaos, gets his sense of purpose back, and Franklin, for the first time, makes a decision that is completely his own. No more orders, no more mentors, just choice. It's not a happy ending, but it's honest. The world keeps moving, the city doesn't care, and life goes on. But for a brief moment, these three broken people found a way to take control of their story, even if it costs them everything. That's what makes GTA 5's ending so powerful. It's not the explosions, the money, or the spectacle, it's the silence after it's all over. The feeling of standing on top of the city, looking out over everything you've done and realizing that maybe, just maybe, surviving was the real win all along. So, when the story does finally end, the world doesn't completely stop. That's the part that hits the hardest. While Santos keeps moving, traffic still flows, people still talk in the streets, sirens still echo through the city, it's like the game's reminding you that no matter what happened, life goes on. And that's a kind of perfect message for a story like this, because Grand Theft Auto 5 was really never about winning. It was about what happens after you've already lost and keep trying to convince yourself you haven't. The aftermath feels quiet. Almost too quiet. Michael goes back to his house, back to his fake sense of peace. He's technically won, but you can still feel the emptiness lingering. The fame, the luxury, the freedom, none of it feels real anymore. You can see it in the way he talks to Amanda, the way he walks around the house. He got everything he wanted and it still wasn't enough. But the difference now is that he knows it. He's not chasing that illusion anymore, he's just trying to live with what's left. Trevor, on the other hand, goes right back to being Trevor. He's violent, he's unpredictable, and he's still living in the middle of chaos, but now it feels different. He's calmer in his own twisted way, almost like he finally got closure. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. He's done fighting for validation, and maybe that's why his ending, as unhinged as it is, somehow feels like the happiest one. He doesn't change, but he doesn't need to. He's finally honest with himself, and in a weird way, that's peace. And Franklin, he's the one who really carries the weight of everything. He's still young, still full of potential, but he's already seen too much. He's lost people, made enemies, built a name for himself, but all of it came at a cost. he's standing on top of the city looking down at everything he's earned and realizing he's the only one who really made it out clean. But clean doesn't mean free. He's just smart enough to know when to stop. Franklin's story isn't about becoming rich, it's about understanding what that actually means. He came from nothing, and by the end, he's seen that sometimes having everything can be just another kind of prison. What makes this part of the story so powerful is how small it feels compared to the chaos that came before it. Just three broken men trying to move forward in a world that never cared about them. You can visit them, can call them, and even hang out with them, but it's not the same anymore. The energy's gone, the story's over, and for the first time, the game makes you sit in that silence. It's that silence that gives GTA 5 its weight. Rockstar didn't just have to make a game about crime and chaos, they made one about consequences. Every mission, every heist, every argument, it all leads back to the same idea. No one really gets out clean, and the world doesn't care about your reasons, it just keeps moving.